Hello, my name is Kevin. Welcome back to the channel. I just finished reading April Dunford's Obviously Awesome, and the concepts that she talked about with product positioning absolutely rocked my world. I'd been preparing for a business conference, putting together my pitch, what I thought was good about Tetheros and how I could interest people. And after finishing her book, I realized everything I was doing was wrong. Well, not wrong, but like the game that I was setting myself up to play, I was never gonna win. So in today's video, I wanna walk you through tactically, step by step, the specific things I did with Tetheros. I'm gonna kind of pull the sheet back on some of the things that I'm doing so that I can redefine my product positioning to play a game that I can actually win. Like I mentioned, this isn't some theory or guide or what I learned reading a book. This is what I actually did, a very tactical look at how I adjusted my product positioning with Tetheros. These are the steps I take, and most of the information here is comprehensive as far as what I'm capable of and what I'm doing with this company. Let's dive in now. I'll show you what I mean. So I started out with my original pitch. This is kind of what I entered that conference with. What I thought summed up Tetheros really well in the minds of the people that I was talking on. I said that Tetheros helps teams work more effectively by simplifying project management. Well, this sounds great, but the problem is that I was using the word project management. In the minds of the customers, April Dunford says that the way that you frame everything up is going to set the stage for what they think about your product. There's so many unspoken things that happen depending on how you present what you're doing, if it's clear, that the customer is going to believe, or the potential customer is going to believe, is true about your product. When I said project management, they probably thought about products like MS Project or Asana or ClickUp, things that in their mind they associate with this. Well, the problem is I don't have any sort of advantage over the incumbents in that space. Not only am I doing to myself a disservice by saying the word project management, it's also not necessarily true with the offering that Tetheros has. Which leads to step one, asking not what you can do, but what they can do without you. This is where you think about competitive alternatives. What would the customer or the user do if you absolutely didn't exist? And my list is a little bit longer than 3, but I tried to pull out the top 3 alternatives that would happen without Tetheros being in the world at all. The first is like typical office software. A lot can get done with spreadsheets and documents and email and writing things on whiteboards. Just things that are around your office, things you have easy access to. The advantage is there, it's accessible, it's customizable, and it's cheap. Unfortunately, it doesn't scale well. You can't share it very easily. The feedback's not good, and version control absolutely sucks. The next alternative is doing nothing. This is like word of mouth, memory. What tasks do we have to do today? I don't know. I just kind of hop in and I do it. The advantage is this actually works really well with small teams. There's no need to overcomplicate things. So like having just go ahead and do it strategy works pretty well. Unfortunately, it doesn't adapt well when the routines change, or if there's a large team, or sometimes you have to play telephone with other people on your team because it's not documented or collected in any way. And there's a high bust factor. If something happened to the person who knows everything, like that kind of puts people at risk. And the third is most obvious. Like without my product, they're going to go to my competitors' products, Asana, Monday, Slack, depending on what they're trying to accomplish. And there's a lot of benefits here. There's a huge advantage to the maturity of the software, to the stack that they're using, to how it scales, to how automated it can be, to how fast it can be, to the level of support that they can receive and the training document. The list is very long. I only put 4 things here. There are disadvantages with going with software-based project management, task management, communication. There's a learning curve. Trying to get adoption on Teams is hard. It's a lot of overhead sometimes for the administrator of the product. And in a lot of cases, there's some cost prohibitive features built into this. Like if you want to look at something a certain way, you have to pay more. Or only pro member tiers have access to Gantt charts, that kind of thing. After we have this analysis, we can go to step 2, finding the edge of your snowflake. This is where you look at your product, my product being Tetheros here. I looked at Tetheros and said, what sets it apart? And I came up with a list of 7 things that I think, and I put the top 3 here that really set Tetheros apart from all these other tools and all these other competitive advantages. The first is the social algorithm feed. If you've used Tetheros, you know what I'm talking about. When you log in, you're presented with something that looks a lot like a Facebook or a LinkedIn. There's a feed of information, and it's just giving you updates on posts, updates on tasks, updates on projects, things that you want to see. It's automating that and bringing it to you in a format that we're familiar with on social media. The benefit here is that it saves time. You can kind of hop in and get into the action faster rather than having to click through 10 or 15 different screens or tasks or subtasks to figure out what should you be working on or what you'd be caring about or what's happened since you've last been there. The second is this KPI dashboard in Tetheros. And this is a place to track your own first-party data, tickets sold, conversion rates, customer base, email list, subscribers. All of that can be done inside of Tetheros' KPI dashboard, which is a pretty unique feature. It's very much not something you would do in any of the other products on the market or any of the other competitive alternatives we laid out in step 1. And having first-party data that you update and deal with allows for higher accuracy of your success. If you're trying to go somewhere and you know exactly where you are, having an objective number to look at goes a long way. And the third one is the project framework. The way that Tetheros puts things together as a project, the concept of a project, is unique. It's built on work streams and goals and resources rather than it being the project being the same thing as the Kanban board or whatever it is. And this creates alignment, which saves a lot of time on reporting, organizing, and wondering about, did we cross the finish line or not? Once the advantages are understood and the competitive alternatives are defined, it's time to really get vulnerable and look at the weaknesses, both of me and Tetheros and the Goliaths, the giants, the incumbents on the market. In Tetheros, I am a small new company, so I don't have much access to capital. The product isn't that mature. The team size is really small. The capacity is limited for what we can get done. I don't have that much industry-specific knowledge because I've only been doing this for a little bit. I'm not that experienced as an executive, which is fine. I like to learn. My infrastructure, it doesn't scale. It's built very simply because the customer base just doesn't warrant anything more complicated at this point. And because enterprise customers are interesting, the sales experience, I don't have much of it, so I'm also learning that. Those are my big weaknesses. Now, Goliath has weaknesses too, just because they're products that are on the market. We talked about some of the disadvantages, but these are the weaknesses. Where are they really not good at? They don't have one-on-one support from the founder. The people they're dealing with are salespeople, hired people. They don't have the passion and the zest for the product that the founder does, like me. These products are also expensive. They don't adapt well to the changing market or the changing conditions because when you have a lot of moving parts and a lot of teams, it's actually pretty difficult to steer a massive ship quickly. These products also don't do a good job at simplifying, complicated projects and efforts where there's a lot of people and a lot of work streams and a lot of tasks involved. They also don't do a great job at KPI or context-driven goal setting, or product-led community building, or the affordability of the features. You often have to pay more in a higher tier to have access to some of the cooler tools. So knowing these weaknesses leads us to step 4. The blue ocean analysis comes from a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, which is a strategy for showing up as a different competitor in the market. So looking at everything that makes the market what it is today and asking 4 questions. What can we create, eliminate, improve, and reduce factors that play into how customers expect this product to exist and how it competes in the market? Well, now that I know my weaknesses and I know Goliath's weaknesses, I know the competitive alternatives and their disadvantages, I can take that information and put this analysis over the top of it. What you're seeing here is a somewhat simplified analysis of what I did with Tetheros, but I tried to pull out the highlights to try to give you insight into how I'm thinking about this. But where I see creation opportunities is with the social media feed that I elaborated on earlier. This feed, this algorithm that shows up and brings information to your doorstep without you having to click in and look at a lot of stuff. There's a lot of clarity there that's not being done in any products today. I believe that eliminating the extreme customization that people do, like custom columns, tags, attributes, and all that, there's a high cost associated with that. There's only so much return that you get, and then you overcomplicate so much stuff. So my approach with Tetheros is let's just eliminate that. Let's remove that and focus on being simple and lean and fast. Yes, we're going to lose out on that customization that some people feel like they need, but the benefit is going to be speed, simplicity, onboarding, intuitive. The UI is going to be not this collection of random stuff. Tetheros will look familiar from one person to another. I believe that Tetheros can improve the way that we deal with data. Data is the new oil, they say. And I think that the conversation around data is a conversation about goals, and a conversation about goals is a conversation about projects and operations. You can't say that you have a project without setting some goals and defining where the success is. So I think KPIs play a big part in that, and Tetheros accommodates that with a pretty powerful API-driven KPI platform. And I believe that Tetheros can reduce the dependency that all these programs put on certain frameworks. They force teams to work a certain way. There's a little bit of flexibility, but there's not much there. They force you to work in Scrum, or if you want to collaborate with a different team who prefers just doing like checklists or something, like bringing those two worlds together is a whole fussy mess. But Tetheros actually prevents that from becoming a complicated pile of rats. It's actually the way that the product is designed reduces the need to depend on a framework. Not eliminating it entirely, because the frameworks are helpful, but it's a barrier to collaboration that Tetheros helps overcome. If I put it all together, it's very clear. If I try to say project management, then I'm highlighting all the advantages of my competitors and most of the disadvantages of my product. But if I talk about Tetheros' strengths and I highlight where I can beat Goliath, that's a lot more about the alignment. And alignment is a very valuable, important thing for a lot of teams. Are we all rowing in the same direction? So if I position Tetheros as something with an alignment platform, something that takes into account goals and the networking, the communication with your team, and the way that we think about operations and the way that we think about projects, well, I think that I actually can find an advantage on the incumbents in the market. Even against the competitive alternatives, Tetheros can offer a lot of benefits, because alignment is something that is valuable and not easily found in the tools themselves. So my revised positioning statement: Tetheros is a work alignment platform that helps small, data-driven teams simplify their operations. It's not a perfect pitch. There's going to be problems with it. Not everyone's going to understand what work alignment platform means, but that's okay. It's a game that I can win. I don't think I'm going to win any games doing project management, but I think I can win a lot more doing work alignment, even if it requires a little education on my half. All the highlighted words point to an outcome that's defined in that blue ocean strategy, and the blue ocean strategy is built on the information from the weaknesses and the competitive alternatives and the advantages. So moving forward, if you run into me and you ask, so what do you do? And I talk about Tetheros, I'm going to describe it as this work alignment platform, getting everybody rowing in the same direction for data-driven teams that are small, that work on operations or projects. This product shows up a little bit differently. There's a big focus on communication. There's a big focus on, objective measuring of success. And that's what sets this platform apart from everything else on the market today. And even though that's a small group that's going to care about that, I can win in those areas, and I plan on exploiting every advantage I have against the big Goliaths on the market. So that's all I have. I hope some of this exercise was useful or interesting or insightful. Let me know if you have any questions or what you think about my revised positioning statement. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video.